Welcome to our Good Friday reflection. The curtain in the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. A heavy curtain hung in front of the temple room, called the Most Holy Place. This was the place that was reserved for God. Symbolically, the curtain separated the Holy One from the sinful people. The room was entered only once a year on the Day of Atonement by a high priest, and he made a sacrifice to gain forgiveness of the sins for all people. When Jesus died, that curtain was torn in two. It was split from top to bottom. The curtain was torn in two, showing that his death was opening up a way for us to approach the Holy God. It was showing that God had made a way and this was a heavy material curtain. This wasn't just a light front room or bedroom curtain. This was heavy material. This couldn't have been separated by man. This was God who had torn this curtain in two, showing that no longer are we separated from him, that we can walk straight into the place that was just designated for the high priest. We can walk straight into the Holy of Holies. We can get as close to God now as we want because of what Jesus did on the cross. And that curtain was torn in two. So was the barrier that stops us from coming close to God. So what is there in our lives that we keep up? Do we still keep a curtain up? Do we live as if we are still separated from God? Or maybe it's about time we tore that curtain down. Maybe it's time we took those barriers down. And at the moment, it seems that what is separating us from God mostly is fear and death. Now today, on Good Friday, are we stood at the cross? Are we mourning for Jesus? Are we still grieving for Jesus? Remembering what he did on that cross. John 3:16 says, "For God so loved the world that he gave us his only Son, that whoever believes in him will not perish, but will have eternal life." Jesus came to die for us. He was the only sacrifice that would save us all. No longer are we separated because of our sin. Now we can walk straight in to the Holy of Holies. On Sunday, we celebrate Jesus rising from the dead. On Easter Day, this is what we celebrate. But to get there, to get to Easter Day, we have to come through Good Friday. We have to have the cross. There will be no resurrection without the cross. To get to Sunday, we need to walk through Friday. To get to freedom, we need to come to the cross. What is there in our lives now that needs to be torn down? Jesus today has already dealt with fear. He has already dealt with death. So as we stand at the foot of the cross today and we consider how we can remove that curtain that stands between us and God, remember what God can restore. And he can restore what has been lost or missing for some time. And now is the time to remember that Jesus' death was not just a sad thing that happened. Jesus' death was a planned thing that happened. And that's really important to know that God planned this to give us Jesus, to send him to die upon the cross for us, was fully planned. He was sent as part of God's plan. So there's nothing, absolutely nothing, that can separate us from God today. So on this Good Friday, have a Good Friday. Amen.